Today I'm going to show you how to dine on a dime. Try saying that 10 times fast. It's a lot harder than it seems. Today we're going to be making a very simple dish using ingredients that don't cost a lot, which are going to be, it's going to be a nice dish to be able to feed a big family. I have 3 kids at home, so being able to create something simple yet cost effective is always appreciated. I'm going to start out by chopping up some onion. I'm going to dice it and then sweat it in the pan. Chop some onion. I'm just going to dice this and go ahead and get my pan. I'm not going to turn the heat up too high because I don't want to get much color on them, but I want to just kind of sweat them and let the fragrance and the oils start to leach out of them. Now while those begin to sweat out, I'm going to get the steak. Today I've chosen to use hanger steak because it's a very cost-effective way to feed a family. It doesn't cost much, and there are ways that you can make it absolutely delicious. One of the things that you'll want to make sure that you do if you do decide to use this cut is always cut against the grain of the meat. By doing that, you're going to allow yourself to be able to chew it more efficiently, and it's going to seem a lot softer, whereas if you cut with the grain, it's going to be a very chewy piece of meat. I'm just gonna cut this into chunks because we're gonna toss this into our stir fry. I'm just sweating those, just getting some of that beautiful aroma off of them. And some of that flavor that's gonna infuse so nicely into the meat. Okay, so now that the onions have begun to sweat, we're gonna go ahead and add the beef to them. I went ahead and marinated this beef with just a little bit of olive oil. I used a little bit of soy sauce, and I used a little bit of cayenne pepper for just a little bit of heat, but not too much. As you see, cut into chunk sizes that will be absolutely amazing in this stir fry. When I first learned how to make sauces, it was just very freeing to me because you can play around with so many different flavor profiles. So for the sauce today, it's inspired by Asian flavors. So I'm gonna start out with just a little bit of sesame oil. I love that, it's so aromatic. It's amazing. Then I'm going to add soy sauce. I'm gonna add a little bit of maple syrup, and what that does is that's just gonna kind of counterbalance the heat on this because we're gonna add some sriracha on that. The great thing about this recipe is you can just kind of play around with it and decide you want to add a little bit more spice to it if you like. You can add a little more sweetness. It just really depends on your palate. So I've added the sriracha in there. I'm also going to add just a little bit of lemongrass, not much. And then I'm going to add cornstarch to it. Now what the cornstarch is gonna do is it's just gonna thicken this up really nicely. So when we actually add this to our dish, it's going to be really thick and luscious and velvety. It's just great. So don't worry if at first when you put your cornstarch in, it doesn't fully incorporate into the liquid. We're just gonna set this off to the side for right now while we go and check on the beef. This is cooking really nicely. Some good color on there. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells amazing. A great tip that I learned from Gordon while I was at MasterChef is actually how to cut bell peppers to leave the least amount of waste on it. So chop the end off of the bell pepper and you turn it up sideways. You're gonna cut down the ribs and get as close to that center as you possibly can, leaving absolutely nothing to go to waste. There we go, that's so much better. A sharp knife makes all the difference in the world. I think it's really fun, because we eat with our eyes first. So it's just really nice to play around with the different colors of this. It's a very beautiful dish, but also very simple and very affordable. The best tip that I've honestly found for getting my kids to eat vegetables is to incorporate them into making the dish. So a lot of times, my daughter has her own little knife set, so she'll cut the vegetables with me, and she feels like she's involved with making the dish. She's a lot more likely to eat it, so that's a trick that I've found, and it also keeps them busy while you're in the kitchen cooking, which is always difficult. So we're gonna go ahead, we've added our bell peppers, we're adding our broccoli right now. So the beef is mostly done. Don't worry about it being cooked all the way through because we're continuing to cook this. And if you have a little bit of liquid at the bottom of the pan, that's fine too, because we're going to add our sauce and that's really gonna thicken it up. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit of broth to this because what I want to happen is I want the broccoli to steam. So I'm gonna turn the heat up on it and I'm gonna cover it and let the steam cook the broccoli. I'm actually gonna go ahead and add, I forgot earlier to add rice vinegar to this. Now this is gonna give it a little bit of a zing. It's really nice. It just kind of cuts through all of the kind of the umami of the soy sauce, what that gives it. All right, so this has been steaming now for about 10 minutes. It doesn't take long. I've been steaming it on medium heat. I'm gonna go ahead and take the lid off and I'm going to add the sauce to it. You don't want the broccoli to get too well done, otherwise it just gets kind of soggy. I like mine a little more al dente. So right before the broccoli is done, you wanna go ahead and add our sauce mixture to it. I'm keeping that on medium heat. That's going to begin to thicken up. It looks very liquidy right now, but with that over the heat, that's going to turn into a really nice, delicious sauce. You can already see it's starting to thicken up a little bit. All right, now it's just been a couple of minutes, but this is probably already thickened up some. I'm just gonna check the consistency of it. Yeah, if you actually look in at this, it's starting to thicken up really nicely. So I'm just gonna toss this in the sauce. Perfect. What's great about the al dente broccoli is that it's gonna give it a really nice texture. And if you know my cooking style, I'm really big on making sure that you have different textures, making sure that the heat and acid, all of that is balanced. So something that I really like to do to my stir fry is I like to end it off with just a little bit of cashews, and you don't keep them in there for very long because they'll get soggy. I'm gonna go ahead and add the cashews to it, put the lid on it for only about 60 seconds, and then it's ready to serve. So I'm adding the cashews, and you can add as many as you want. You can crush them up. I really like the whole texture of them, and then just kind of toss it in the sauce. See, that's beautiful, nice and thick. And again, a really great dish to make on a budget that will feed the whole family. So the lid back on for about 60 seconds. I'm gonna go ahead and get my rice. I just made some, I like to use basmati. You can use any type you want. You can use brown rice. I just like the texture of basmati. So now this is just about done. We're gonna go ahead and take it off the heat. Look at that. It smells amazing. And then just go ahead and top your rice. Beautiful, loads of vegetables, great protein, super affordable. Your whole family is going to love this dish. And it really, 20 minutes, amazing. And then for a little extra at the end, I have white and black sesame seeds here. I think it just adds a really nice pop to the dish and tastes delicious. And if you are like me and you like lots of spice on your food, red chili flakes to end it. And that is how I dine on a dime with a very affordable piece of beef that will feed your entire family.